Franklin Delanore Roosevelt, Thomas Edison, J.R.R. Tolkien, and Bill Gates all have in common? Well, if you've read the title of this video or you read the comment that's associated with this video, besides being names that everyone knows, it should be pretty obvious that all of those people, both real and fictional, were all people that were involved and big proponents of masterminds and the mastermind concept. And so on this video, I wanted to jump on and talk a little bit about the mastermind concept because we are in mastermind season with the Comics Launch podcast. If you're unfamiliar with me, if I'm showing up on your feed for the first time, I'm Tyler James. I'm the host of the Comics Launch podcast, which is a show all about mindset, strategies, and tactics to grow our fan bases and energize and expand them, and then also to launch projects and products to them, primarily focusing on the Kickstarter platform. But in addition to just launching stuff, we really do focus, and I focus on my show, and I focus with the work that I do with creators on building that entire platform for creators to really grow and thrive and look at this as not just as something we're sort of doing off on the side that's like a small part of our lives, but something that could potentially be a full-blown career. And so if that sounds good to you, I think you're going to enjoy the podcast, and you're also going to enjoy this concept of masterminds. And so that's really what I want to present to you. One of the reasons I'm talking about masterminds is that we are in the middle of, or we're about to start up in earnest, re-enrollment for the mastermind that I run. So if you're someone who is looking to get involved in a group of creators that are committed to one another, that are dedicated to one another, and that are committed to meeting once a month on a regular basis for at least 6 months to talk about each other's projects, to talk about each other's creative businesses, to support each other. If that's something that sounds interesting to you, just go over to comicslaunch.com/mastermind. You're going to want to get on the interest list over there, and I'll tell you all about it. And when it's time to apply, you'll be able to apply. But for today's broadcast, what I really want to do is I just want to talk about this mastermind concept, because it's something that, I'll be honest, it's something that like I have not embraced for the entirety of my career. But when I discovered it, and when I actually started first being involved in masterminds myself, and then in the last year and a half, started facilitating and forming these groups and leading these groups, I've seen some really, really cool things. And so I kicked off this video by talking about B. Arthur and Franklin Delano Roosevelt and Thomas Edison and Tolkien and Bill Gates. And with the exception of King Arthur, who is fictional, the rest of those people were quite real. And obviously, they're all names we know and people that have done great things in this life. And they're all people who have been gone on record to attribute much of their success to being involved in a mastermind group. For FDR, he had his group. It was called the Brain Trust. Tolkien's group, which included the Inklings, or which was called the Inklings, and included C.S. Lewis, among others. In a lot of cases, these are groups that left a strong legacy. Now, the mastermind concept is credited as coming from Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich. And in that book, he said, "No two minds ever come together without thereby creating a third invisible, intangible force, which may be likened to a third mind." Okay, some lofty prose there. But you've probably all had this experience where you get in a room, whether it's a formal get-together or maybe an informal get-together of creators, like at the bar after a convention, and you get into a room and the conversation is good and the ideas start flowing and magic just starts happening. All right. And so part of the But for me, I only can get to so many conventions. I do a lot less conventions now than I used to. But even when I was going to lots of conventions, those moments that happen, they sort of happen spontaneously, and they happen, and they're not really that predictable. And so the idea and the concept of the mastermind is that you can potentially create a structure that will allow for these sort of breakthroughs to happen on a consistent, regular basis. And that's something that I've actually seen that is quite possible and does happen when you get the right people in the right rooms over a series of time. Now, I should say, if you want just a small taste of what a mastermind is like, this week's podcast on the Comics Launch podcast, you can go over to comicslaunch.com/session202, and you can listen to this week's podcast. Because what I've done for this week's podcast is I've assembled what I'm calling the six-figure Kickstarter mastermind. So I've got 4 creators that are involved in a mastermind experience that you can listen in on. And each one of those creators brings an issue to the table that then the other creators in the mastermind group all give feedback on. And what one bit of unifying principle for the group that you get to listen into is every person involved in this mastermind is all creators that have raised at least $100,000 on the Kickstarter platform throughout the course of their projects. So you know that there's going to be a certain level of things that these creators have gotten figured out. But what you'll also find is that no creator out there, no matter how much they've done, has this game all figured out, and everyone can benefit from getting feedback from their peers. All right. What's up, Maddie? What's up, Nelson? Good to have you guys tuning in and watching live, and love to have you here. And so the mastermind concept, though, it's really about how the sum of a group, the sum of what is possible when you bring great people together, like that sum can be greater than just the individual parts of the whole. And I'm sure you found it. And I know I've seen it, that like when you get talented individuals that unite around a common cause and a common purpose, commit to each other, pool their talents, magic happens. And there is a multiplicative lift factor that a group achieves that individuals inside, it would be tough to get those same results just out there floating on their own. And so it's sort of like a 1 + 1 = 3+, as opposed to just 1 + 1 = 2. Now, just a brief example of the power of being involved in a mastermind and a big impact that it had in my life in the past was I was in a publisher mastermind at one point, and one of the publishers in there, and was great about it is, we were all publishing and all related to comics, but sort of had different focuses and different tactics and different areas and niches of the publishing industry that we're all focusing on. And one of the publishers that was in the group, his strength was in foreign licensing, in that he was sort of, in some cases, having books that he's produced and then getting them into other foreign languages. And then in other cases, going out there and searching for great content in other languages and bringing them over to English. And so, that was obviously something I didn't even know that was sort of like a world that existed, right? Or the idea of foreign licensing, it sounds like fancy and sounds like, oh, that's out there, right? Well, wouldn't you know it, shortly after being involved in the group, I start getting some interest in one of our properties to license it abroad to some foreign publishers. And so at first I'm like, oh, that's so awesome. And second, I'm like, oh crap, I have no context whatsoever about what I need to know about evaluating these publishers. What's a good deal? What's a bad deal? How am I not going to get screwed? How do I and then, that compounds. Like if I make a bad deal, and it's also, there's other creators that I work with that are my collaborators on these projects. Like if I make a bad deal, it's not just a bad deal for me, it's a bad deal for all of us, right? And like, that's a lot of pressure. I didn't know what to do, but luckily I had the resource of this mastermind and this person that was in there. And so I was able to basically take my issues to the mastermind, get feedback from people that actually had some of that experience that I did not have, so some of that perspective that I didn't have. And the result of that was I ended up getting the feedback that the deal I was offered was okay, but not great. And I also got the confidence of, well, here are the points that you should go and try to negotiate on. And so I did. And as a result, the deal that I ended up getting was actually about worth double what the initial deal that was offered was. All right. And so, and we're talking, several thousands of dollars just from making a much better deal on that. But what was even more powerful from that was that that then set a high bar or a high barrier or a high entry point that one foreign publishing company, like a legitimate foreign publishing company that licensed our books, and they actually since came back and have licensed multiple books from us, which is cool. But that set the initial sort of buy-in rate, the initial deal rate, like twice as high as what it would have been had I not had that support and just took the first deal that came to me, right? And so what that did is when we actually started getting other publishers from other like wanting to serve other markets in other foreign languages coming to us, well, we could point to a real existing deal that was a good deal and say, hey, well, that's what we did for this market. So that then leveled up like the starting conversation for all other deals. So even though it was a conversation and an interaction in a mastermind that probably took 40 minutes altogether of me just getting everything that I needed, like that 40 minutes was worth like probably tens of thousands of dollars. And again, these are deals that are potentially ongoing. So, they can continue to go and there are still more markets that we haven't even been in at. But just the compounding effect of having that resource was just incredibly eye-opening and instantly and immediately made it so that I saw the value in just having a network of people with perspectives and experiences and expertises outside of my own that I could tap into. All right. Now, masterminds are not a new concept, right? Now, that doesn't mean like some of you might not be in one right now, or you might not have sort of heard the term mastermind, but and it's not like it's not a new concept. Like you may have heard of like writers circles where writers get together and they share scripts and they give each other feedback. That's an example of a mastermind. Alcoholics Anonymous. It's an example of a mastermind. Now, obviously, people are getting around for a different cause, but like Weight Watchers, kind of like a mastermind. Running clubs, kind of like a mastermind. Like whenever you get a group of like-minded people in pursuit of common cause who are joining together to support each other, that are committed to one another, to connecting to one another, to keep each other accountable, and to support each other in mutual prosperity, that is definitely something that is embracing the mastermind concept and is something that I hope some of you consider adding to what it is that you are doing in order to grow in those areas. Ian says networking is the best. It's how he got started on the Mana Chronicles project. Awesome, Ian. Yep. It's definitely can be a very powerful thing. And so I just want to leave you with, and I will be talking about masterminds. The next, the issue or the episode that went live on Sunday, and then the next 3 episodes will all be mastermind style episodes where you'll hear a creator bring a topic to the floor and then get support and feedback and encouragement from the group focused on that one topic. And I'm actually, I'm the 4th guest on the 4th episode. I actually bring a topic. And so you'll hear what I want to get feedback on from a group of creators and peers of mine. All right. And so I hope you like the sound of that. I hope that's something that you're going to be interested in looking into. And then last but definitely not least, I want to make sure that you know that we are going to be filling up the Comics Launch Mastermind once more. For the past year and a half, I have been assembling and running mastermind groups of creators like you, probably like many of you watching this, who are serious about this stuff and just want to get to that extra level, that next level. And you know that one of the best ways to do that is by surrounding yourself, by inspiring people and sharing resources, sharing strategies, getting support for the stuff that you're doing. And so if you are interested in that at all, please go over to comicslaunch.com/mastermind. What you're going to want to do there is you're going to want to get on the interest list. We'll do a live info session. So if you have any questions at all, you can find out and get them from me directly. You can ask the questions. There is an application. It is application only. There are some requirements in terms of where you need to be and what you need to have done in order to make sure that you're ready to come into the group. But if it's interesting at all to you, I hope you will consider getting on the interest list, consider applying. We do have a limited number of seats for the mastermind that I run, and that I'm looking forward to adding some new people to the already outstanding group of creators that I've been working with for the past year and a half. All right. So with that said, hope you have an awesome start to the week, and we will continue these discussions about masterminds and how they might be able to help you going forward over the next week or so. All right, take care. Oh, and I can't wait to see what you launch next.